Hi, welcome to the virtual review. I'm Grant, this is
Adam.
I'm a 360 video content creator, and Adam is a video game programmer. We've decided to come together for this VRCast to discuss the applications and games provided for the Samsung Gear VR specifically. I use a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, and Adam uses the same, the S7 without the Edge. We both
That's right.
use a Gear VR headset. I use the single hand VR controller provided with the Gear VR that I got, and Adam uses,
The Stratus Series XL.
and that's a handheld gamepad.
Yeah, much like an Xbox 360 controller, like a wireless Bluetooth control.
Easy. So we'll discuss sort of the differences between control options within these applications and games that we discuss. The plan is just to run through a single app and or game each episode, and we'll keep things short and succinct, run you through what we like and dislike about each application. And while we're doing that, if you are in a virtual reality space with your headset on, you can turn around and you'll find live footage of someone playing the game, so you can get a feel for how active you will be when playing the game and or application. And you'll also see in-game footage that Adam has captured of him playing the game, so you can get a look of what it's actually like to be in there and playing the game / application. Right. So I think that covers everything to get us started, does it not?
Sure, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, today's game that we're going to dive into is the Land's End, or Land's End. I picked this game for us to begin with because once you've dived in, everyone's got to do their roller coaster ride straight up when they put their VR headset on. After that, this was the first game that
I think I introduced you to
You
when
did.
I first brought around my Gear VR
And
about
I'd
12 months ago.
I'd had a slight taste of VR previously, but this was the first time I got to
Sure.
sink my teeth into it.
Absolutely.
And thanks to you, an excellent pick, because I fell in love with this game. I loved the mechanics. I loved finally getting to feel like I was Magneto, even though they're stones. But that's where I was at, and I'll pass it over to you, Adam, to give us a basic rundown description of what Land's End is.
Sure. So Land's End, it's basically an environmental-based puzzle game. It's not really like anything I've played before it. So one of the cool things about it was I bought this game before I had a control. I had the early version of the Samsung Gear VR that didn't come with the Samsung control. I was all out of money, so I thought, let's look for experiences where you don't need an external control, and this one is the best one I could find. So basically, the gameplay revolves around you looking at checkpoints and moving things around by looking and basically using mind power or telekinesis, and like you say, using the power of Magneto. Which you don't really get that experience with any other game.
And I think that's probably a good time to reiterate that although I've mentioned the different controllers that we use, there is no need for a controller with this game.
Absolutely,
It's
none
completely
whatsoever.
hands-free. Yeah.
So one thing you do need with this game is a swivel chair. It doesn't work well, and you'll see on the very first intro screen it asks you to turn around to start the game. So if you're sitting in a lounge, that's not going to work very well. So you just need some space around you with a swivel chair. First thing you do is turn around and you're in the experience. One of the things with this game is there's no real text apart from it saying level 1. You're on your own. Like all the tutorials, there's no tutorial, there's no hand holding. You basically pick it up as you go. So
And that said, it's all very self-explanatory. Like to move around the landscape, you're turning around, you're finding a little dot to focus your attention on, and once you've latched onto that, you move forward towards that dot.
Absolutely.
There's not really an open sandbox for you to be exploring. You're on rails, you've just got to find which way the rails are going.
That's right. And they use symbols. So one of the first things you'll see is a triangle symbol. And then once you look at that, you're creating a line, a little bit like in The Witness. You might not have played The Witness, but I think this actually came before that. And just through experimentation, you can look at these symbols and start to discover, oh, that's what a triangle symbol does. And if I move this line to this circle, it opens up the next part of the game. And it starts off really simple, but it's very, very clever the way they introduce these new concepts one at a time, and specifically in between levels.
I found the puzzles a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed sort of throwing things around and trying different arrangements of the massive stones to solve the puzzles. Like, I wasn't ever frustrated. I scratched my head a couple of times, but...
Did you get stuck anywhere at all?
I didn't. I did.
I definitely got stuck. I played through it again last night for the first time in a while, and I didn't get stuck. Well, maybe for a couple of minutes. But my first playthrough, there was definitely some puzzles I got stuck on. What I noticed this playthrough, though, is there's this strong symbology thing. Like, at the end of each level, you see these things come up without giving too much away, but it's like a stone character, and then that theme represents itself through each level. And some of the puzzles you'll see that you have to rebuild that character, but if you're not looking at these symbols as the level goes through, you may miss these certain subtleties, and you might be just trial and erroring your way through the game. But
I think I did miss those things.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And you
but
still managed to get
I
through?
can picture them now you're mentioning it. Now you're talking
wow.
about, like, oh yeah, I can see all that.
There was one puzzle I definitely got stuck on the first time through. I think you solved it for me.
Right.
In
In the cave?
No, it was outside, and you had to build the structure that is basically identical to the ones that you see at the end of each level. And I didn't pick up on that the first time, so I was just trial and erroring, and I'd almost have it, or I think I'd almost have it. And then I recognised that it made this symbol this time through, and just through that recognition, I was able to progress.
Solve the puzzle. So, we're sort of running through this, but what is your overall sort of experience with it? Do you like this game? Obviously, I love this game. I'm raving about it, and had such an awesome experience with it. It's really calm, atmospheric. It's smooth. It's not disorientating. There's one little moment where you're caught in a blizzard, where you're a bit, where am I and where am I going, which I think is really interesting. So I think it's kind of obvious how I feel about the game. What are your thoughts?
Sure, I thought it was absolutely great, and it's probably the best experience I've played on the Gear VR to date. One of the great things about it is, for anyone that does get motion sickness from VR, or anyone that's new to VR that has never had a VR experience, this is the game I definitely recommend. There's no sudden movements. Everything's very, very smooth. When you're looking at a checkpoint, it kind of sucks you in this slow manner that it's just, everything happens very fluidly, and the environments are so beautiful. It's amazing that these phones can actually push out that graphical fidelity.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah, it's a blast.
The programmers must be so smart in that it's quite a low poly environment, but the way it's presented is just so beautiful, and you forget
the aesthetic's
that.
Lovely.
You forget that it is on a phone very quickly. You could easily be doing this on a PC VR setup.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The first time I played through it was one of my first VR experiences. When I got my own headset, I immediately bought this and had another run through. And I did, I guess, like a speed run just a couple of nights ago, so for this review. And I still had a blast. Third time running through it. I wasn't tired of doing the puzzles. I was still enjoying the actual mechanic of moving stuff around. But there's no real heavy, complex puzzles to make. It's great for a first timer because you don't have the controllers either.
And it starts so simple too. That very first level, you could give it to anyone. The first thing you see when you start the game is a single waypoint, and as you look at it, it pulls you towards it. So it's so simple. There's nothing else that you can do on that screen. You can look around, but until you look at that single waypoint, which actually, the sound design, do you remember when you look at the waypoints, that little static electricity sound?
So you know
What did you
you're on
think
the right
about that?
track.
Yeah, but like just the subtleties of some of the sound design, it's so calming and
Oh, I wish I took more note of that now. Yeah, I will. I'll keep that in mind for future reviews,
Sure.
actually.
There's
This
that-
audio's quite interesting, especially with what we're doing, because it's not only sort of where you look that you get to see the whole environment, but your really good VR experiences is going to give you a 360 sound environment as well. So you
Absolutely.
can turn your head to hear what's over there and what's over there. And, yeah.
That's a good point. I think I'm using a stereo headphone set, so I'm probably not getting that 5.1 or 7.1 channel surround sound, but I still feel immersed in the game. I still feel like I'm in that world, even with just the stereo sounding headphones.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to wrap this up, I think.
Sure,
We've
sounds like
had
good
a
time.
good, quick little chat about Land's End. I've raved about it and highly recommend, especially for first-time users of the Gear VR.
Absolutely, I agree with all of that.
Awesome. We've discussed perhaps our next episode. We will look at Smash Hit, which is what a first-person.
I love this game. Yeah, this game is hectic. It's kind of the opposite of Land's End. So this one isn't for the faint of heart. Yeah, I guess it's a first-person on-rails shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, to keep it in some kind of genre or category.
So perhaps if you're logging on and enjoying this episode of our VRCast, get your hands on Smash Hit, and we'll be talking about that in our next episode. Thank you for joining us. This has been the Virtual Review, our VRCast. I am Grant, and this is
Adam,
and we'll see you next episode. Thanks for joining us.
see you next time.